If you like fishing, you better listen, because this is the Bass Junkies podcast. Let's go!
What is up, our fellow Bass Junkies? You guys are tuning in to another episode of the Bass Junkies podcast, where we talk anything and everything bass fishing. We drop a new episode every Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure you stay tuned in for that. Today, we're going to talk about our top 5 pre-spawn baits. Before we get into that, Josh, appreciate you joining me. How you doing today, man?
Good. How are you, Matt?
Pretty good, pretty good. So Josh went fishing today, and it sounds like he caught something. I have not yet to catch anything this year. So, Josh, you want to tell us about it today?
Yeah, I'll just kind of recap my week of fishing. So I think since our last podcast, I got out. I went to a pond last week. I've fished there a lot. It's a pond I go to all the time. I ended up catching, I think, 2 fish there, but it was kind of tough, honestly. And then I actually got a video on my YouTube page of that day if you want to watch 2 fish catches. And then 2 days ago, today's Sunday, we're taping this on a Sunday, so today's the 20th. So the 18th, I went to a local lake in Circleville, Ohio called Hargis Lake, and it's very interesting because this lake used to be a fire lake. It was honestly probably one of the better lakes in Ohio in its heyday. I mean, I have caught numerous 5-pounders there. I've actually caught my PB 5.4 largemouth there at night. But about a year and a half ago, they were having issues with their dam, so they decided to they lowered the lake level down, and it's like a 150-acre lake, and it's fairly deep in the middle, so it's 40 foot. So when if they bring it down 20 feet, there's still probably half of the lake that had water in it, but you couldn't get a boat in there all of last year. I don't know if people were bank fishing or bringing kayaks in, but it's back up to full pool now. So I went there the other day and I fished for 6 hours and I did not get a single bite. And I mean, I threw everything out. I mean, I probably threw 15 different lures, which is frustrating because it looks super fishy. Because what happened was when they drained it or when they lowered it, all the bank, everything that is normally in water, it's weird. Like you're going along and there's like saplings sticking out of the water and there's brush everywhere because all that stuff grew up in the last year and a half. So you would think when the water level come back up, those fish would just flood up into that because there has to be a ton of forage up in there. And maybe that's why they're not biting. I'm interested. I want to get back, but I'm going to wait till the conditions get much better. I'm just interested to see how many fish survived because I was puzzled the other day, and it might have just been one of those days, but it just looks so fishy. Like it was always a good lake, but it even looks better now. And like, I did not get a single bite. I mean, I seen some fish on my graph, but I don't know if they were crappie, catfish, whatever. But it was a good day. I mean, it was overcast. It was windy. It was fairly, it was like 50, 60 degrees out. So the fish should have been biting 52 degree water temps. So that was confusing. And then today I went to another lake, Ross Lake here in Chillicothe, Ohio. And I fished for about 3 hours and I got 2 bites. I missed one on a chatterbait, come unhooked. I never really did see it. Didn't feel very big. And then I caught a 2.5 pounder on a spinnerbait. So it's a little redemption. I mean, this time of year, here in Ohio, it is hard to catch a lot of numbers, but usually if you can catch them, they're usually pretty decent fish. So that was pretty much my week of fishing. Tomorrow I'm going to Indian Lake. So I'll talk about that next time we meet up, and hopefully I'll get on them. I know Matt's been wanting to get out. Here I am talking about all my fishing stuff, but he's super busy with work right now. He's an electrician, and we know, I don't want to get into a different discussion, but in today, they can't find help, which is a problem everywhere right now in today's world. So
yeah, exactly, man. It's just, when you're short on employees, man, and you just, not only am I an electrician, but I'm a foreman. So I'm doing multiple jobs now, and you just got to take over you got to pick up the slack for where you're short. And it's really, I've been busy. That's why I haven't been dropping a lot of content either here on the channel. As far as the Brentford bass stuff goes, I've just been gassed after work, man. But it's coming. Fishing season's getting ready to hit its peak, so I'm excited for it. Which leads us into our top 5 baits that we're going to be throwing this pre-spawn early spring. So, Josh, you want to lead us off with your 5th lure?
Well, I'll lead us off with my 6th because I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
I sat here for half an hour and I'm like, I can't do it. So number 6.
I could do it easily. I can tell you guys right now why Josh is reaching back for the good stuff. I tell you right now, it was like I was trying to figure out 4 and 5. Honestly, I know 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5 to me is pretty much all I mean, I'm going to throw all of them because I do, but ain't none of them any better than the other one in my opinion. Only 2 I got that are really fire.
And we're just clarifying, we're talking pre-spawn lures. And for me, and I don't know if Matt feels the same way, I consider the pre-spawn by water temp, and I basically 50 degrees to 60 degrees for me is a pre-spawn. They get in that 60, they're starting to pull up on beds. And don't get me wrong, every lake goes through phases. There'll be fish that are post-spawn, spawn, and pre-spawn all at the same time. But I kind of base these lures off of water temp. I also determine these lures off of basically if there's grass or if it's wood. And then I also determine them by water clarity. You know?
That was the thing for me too, is when I was trying to pick these out, you know, the colors might change for me. It depends on water clarity.
Yeah.
What species am I actually fishing for?
If
I'm fishing a largemouth or a smallmouth, so I have both, but that makes a difference. So those there is variables into it, you know. So I just got I pretty much just went off like what I expect to fish here at the local lakes this time of year. That's kind of what I'm going to show you. But there's variance to that stuff. It depends on what part of the country you're in and what your lake conditions are actually like. So
and all my lures are based off of pre-spawn largemouth. And we'll do another show about pre-spawn smallmouth because it's a whole different issue. But I'll be honest with you, I just told Matt the other day, me and him wants to go to St. Clair soon. In the spring up there is fire, and I just seen, like, I'm on a St. Clair group on Facebook, and I just seen that the lake, literally all the ice is gone, like as of like a couple of days ago. So it's crazy. Like we got 50-degree water temps down here, and they're just now getting ice free, you know. So
yeah, it's crazy.
And it is because their pre-spawn is about a month behind our pre-spawn. So yep. But my first 2 baits in this are jerkbait. And obviously this would be for a lake that is clear. Jerkbaits, you need clear water for a jerkbait. Not saying you can't catch them on some mucky water, but this is not a good dirty water bait, but it's an awesome cold water bait. And these are the 2 I throw. This is a MEGABASS 110 Junior, and this is a MEGABASS 110 Junior +1. So that's got a little bit bigger bill. It dives a little deeper.
Yeah, hold it over the other way a little bit further on the screen. There you go. That's center right there. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And these are what I throw. This is the only jerkbait I throw, really, guys. And I've talked about it in other videos on my channel, but MEGABASS jerkbaits are kind of one of those weird things. Like I always heard about them, and I kind of blew them off. And then one day I bought one because these things are $25 each. And I bought one, and to be honest with you, there is something magical about them. I'm not saying you can't catch fish on other jerkbaits, but consistently these things will outfish other jerkbaits in my opinion. And I've caught good fish on these, smallmouth and largemouth. So that's my number 6 is a jerkbait.
Yeah, and if you guys are anybody that might be watching this that's new to fishing, if you don't know what a jerkbait is, a jerkbait basically just imitates a bait fish with their erratic behavior by the way you twitch the rod. They suspend in the water column. And they're basically a reaction strike bait is what they are.
Yep.
You want me to give my number 5, or you want to give your number 5 so we can get caught up here? You want to give me your number 5, so you want to give me 2 in a row?
Yeah. So my number 5 is a lipless crankbait. I'll be honest with you. I throw a lipless crankbait early in the spring, and then I throw it again in the fall. And then other than that, it sits in my tackle box. And I like throwing these.
Are those the red eye shads?
these are the red eye shads, and that's the only brand I really throw. I don't honestly don't even think I have any other brands at this point. I do like the red eyes, and obviously for spring I like red, and this is like a red with a little bit of chartreuse. I'll show you. These are two different kind though. They're both 1/2 ounce. That one's got the BBs, and this one's, they call it a 2-tap. So it's got a lot of different sound, and I think that's what makes lipless crankbaits really good. Is I think fish hear them coming from a long ways away.
Yes.
And like I said, these are red eye shads. That's what I like. 1/2 ounce. I keep it super simple. I try not to carry a bunch of different brands of stuff. And where I would throw these is I would throw these where vegetation is coming up, like submerged vegetation. Like tomorrow, I might end up throwing one of these up at Indian Lake because they got a lot of lily pads. And if you can throw these where the lily pads are coming, and you can rip them through the stalk before it gets too thick, it's a killer way of catching fish. So that would be my number 5. Would be a lipless crankbait. I like to fish it in the grass or the grass that's coming up. And my favorite is a Strike King red eye shad. 1/2 ounce.
Awesome. So just like we talked about the jerkbait, guys, if you don't know what a lipless crankbait does, it basically it sinks. It doesn't have a real wide action. It can be fished multiple ways. A lot of times, like Josh said, people like to fish it through grass because it can get through grass fairly easy. And you could also jig them. People actually would vertically drop up and down. So it's a pretty versatile bait. So
yeah, I think they call that yo-yo, and like it does, man. You pick that thing up and you'll feel it, and then I guess, and especially these red eye shads, they kind of have like a dying bait fish action as they come back down. And I have caught them like that, and I've caught them like that in like 20 foot of water at times.
So my number 5, guys, and I'm going to throw a little probably curveball in here, is, and this is actually a pond killer, but it actually works on lakes too, is actually a rooster tail inline spinnerbait. And this one's a chartreuse. Usually I throw chartreuse or white. I don't know what it is about this. It seems to really catch fish early. This is something I've been doing a long time, more than anything. My dad got me turned on to this at a very young age. But it not only does it catch bass, it catches a lot of species. I don't know what it is about it. I mean, I know it ain't gonna throw as much vibration as a big willow blade spinner, but it works. And usually I throw this March. Usually I say March inline spinner. That's usually how it works for me. That's one of my top go-tos right there. And it's pretty much exactly what we say. It's a spinner. You cast it out, you crank it in. So that's my number 5.
What do you throw that on a spinning rod?
It depends. Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, if it's calm conditions, not a lot of wind, I'll throw it on a bait caster. But if it's got some breeze out there, I'll chuck it on a spinning rod. It just makes it easier to cast it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I used to throw them a lot when I fished a lot of ponds, and then I'll be honest with you,
they're pond murderers literally all year round.
I've kind of forgot about them, honestly, but that's a good choice right there.
Yeah. So Josh, you want to give us your number 4?
Yeah, number 4. And a couple of years ago, I didn't really throw this a whole lot in cold water, but it's a chatterbait. And I'll be honest with you, they work really well in cold water. Fish it really, really slow. I actually try to fish it as slow as I can. And anybody who's ever fished a chatterbait, they have a ton of vibration. So I fish it as slow as I can to where I'm basically just barely feeling this bait move along. And again, I like to throw this. You can throw this everywhere. It doesn't do as good in wood, around wood, but it does all right. It's great too in the grass or any submerged vegetation. And this is the chatterbait I like. And colors, dropped it. Colors all vary. This is a white and chartreuse. That's always good. I actually, this time of year, I got one tied on for tomorrow. I'll show you right here. That is a red and green pumpkin chatterbait, which is a pretty killer color for spring. And then black and green pumpkin. That's usually the 4 I have. And like I said, water conditions. And then I keep it super simple. That is a Strike King Menace grub on the back. And I actually got this one. The grub is usually, if you can see that, that's usually how it is. But I have this one turned the other way, and it kind of gives it more of a bait fish action going through the water.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. And I actually just fished today on this. He come up, hit it. I set the hook, and it kind of boiled, and then it was done. It wasn't very big though, but yeah, this is a killer I actually caught them in the pond the other day in this with this exact one. It's a pretty good pre-spawn cold water presentation. So number 4 would be a chat.
Awesome. And for me, chatterbaits, guys, is something I just started really messing with last year. And I caught some fish on at the end of the year. And it is something I'm definitely going to be throwing this spring. It's not one of my top 5 because I have not caught a lot of fish on it, but it's something that I'm intrigued to find out about more of. I'm kind of old school. Takes me a while to get on the trends of these new lures. You know, I've been hearing about chatterbait for years, but it wasn't until just last year I actually started throwing chatterbait. So I caught some fish on it later in the year at Lake Erie on some grass, and I started to learn how to retrieve it a little bit and how to, you know, in it. I feel more confident in it now going, and I think I'll be able to catch some bass on it this spring. And guys, you know, there's different variations of it for you new anglers.
Yeah.
It's basically it's basically called a vibrating jig, and they have a thunder cricket that's made by Strike King. You have the Z-Man chatterbaits, which then they have the jackhammers, but it's a vibrating jig, essentially what it is. So
yeah, this one here is I have never thrown the thunder cricket. This one is this is the original chatterbait, and I think they're called Chatterbait Customs, and I got it from Tackle Warehouse, and I think they make them only for Tackle Warehouse. And I don't know what's really different about it. Maybe the colors and stuff.
How much do you pay for that? Because usually the original chatterbaits are a lot cheaper than the jackhammers and all them are.
This one's a little more expensive than the original, but this is like 7 or 8. I do have one jackhammer, and I'll be honest with you, it has a little more vibration to it, and it does seem like it maybe has a little bit better hook, but I have not. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not tight or cheap when it comes to lures. I was just showing you MEGABASS jerkbaits. Like, I will buy a jackhammer if I feel it's better, but I honestly don't think they're that much better for what they cost. I mean, those things are like $16, $17. So
I've seen them up around 20. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I can tell you where a $20 one is right now. It's down at this lake by my house up in a tree. Ryan left it in there last weekend.
But there is one I do want to get a hold of. I seen it at Dick's the other day, and I should have bought it. But they have a new chatterbait out, and it's made by Brian Thrift, and the blade is like double the size of this blade. So I'm just interested to see how it reacts in the water. I bet it just has a ton of thump and a ton of vibration. But it's like the big blade chatterbait or something. But it's like $12 too, man. The price of lures are starting to get ridiculous, honestly. But I rush it. I buy them every year. So
yeah, and if I was to be throwing a chatterbait, I'd be throwing something similar. You know, I actually had one tied on when I went out to Oakthorpe, and I threw it around a little bit. It was a white with chartreuse, had a few chartreuse strands in it, and then had a white saucy swimmer by Guggen for the tail, for the trailer. But all right, guys, getting into number 4, and this one's one you've already seen by Josh, and that is a lipless crankbait. That was my number 4. This is the 2-tap right here. As you can see, got the red. It's got the black contrasting line, and it's got the orange belly there, guys. And just so you know, I think it's important, you know, when you get into bass fishing, and just so you guys know, Josh and I have not talked about each other's lists. This is a surprise to each of us. You know, we have not discussed this. We just said we're going to give our top 5, and we don't know what each other actually are going to be showing. So, you know, I think there's a lot of people that talk about what color bass see. You know, some will say 3 colors. You know, some will say dark, bright, and red. Some will say red and green. Some will say there's 28 different colors. But I think it's important having them contrasting lines. You know, I think having the black to the red, I think that's important, and I think that is something that is a must when it comes to fishing lures, is to have 2 variations to a lure. I'm not saying that all red bait wouldn't work or all black bait wouldn't work, but I think having those 2 contrasting colors does make a difference. So that is my number 4, is the lipless crankbait. This is actually a Strike King, and this is the 2-tap. So that's my number 4. Josh, give us your number 3, please, sir.
It is a spinnerbait, but it's not just a spinnerbait. It is a Colorado blade with an orange kicker. And that's exclusively what I throw in the spring. This is what I actually caught it was a 2.5, 3 pound bass today. I caught it on not this exact spinnerbait, not this exact one though. I have it tied on for tomorrow. This is a brand new one out of the package. And this one's made by BLUEROCK Tackle, which is a company here in Ohio, kind of a small company. And I really like this spinnerbait, and I think he calls it the Pulse, but I like it because it's got that orange kicker. got that big Colorado blade. And then he also, the wire on it's really thin. And I think that helps with the vibration too.
Mm-hmm.
And then and it's hand-tied skirt too. So
yeah, your freaking iPad that follows you around is screwing you. Josh has got one of those cameras that follows him around everywhere he moves. So
I know I can't figure out how to shut it off, but
yeah, it's right there. Here you go. Yeah.
Yep. But that's it. And like I like this brand for this spinnerbait. Like I said, I throw spinnerbaits. I don't throw them a ton. I throw them again in the fall, but that's a whole different brand and a whole different type of spinnerbait. And then usually I throw a twin tail spinnerbait trailer from Zoom on here. And then I will usually with this one, I don't usually put a trailer hook on it because I like to fish this around wood this time of year. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did today. I was fishing. I was up in like 3 foot of water, and I basically came down a log. And then I think that fish might have been sitting on the end of that log, and he came up and got my spinnerbait. So, but yeah, I love throwing this. And again, you got to be patient, reel it real slow. Let this thing kind of just do its thing, thump, thump, thump.
Yeah.
And honestly, with these big Colorado blades, they actually got a lot of lift. So if you reel real fast, this thing will ride way up in the water. So you got to just remind yourself just to slow down and reel it real slow.
Yeah. A spinnerbait is, I mean, obviously I had the inline spinner, but I'm going to be throwing a spinnerbait as well. I don't have that part of my list, but it's something I will be throwing. And for any new anglers, basically you get vibration off a spinnerbait, and you also get, reflection off the blades.
Yep.
And
I don't know what
mimic bait fish. So yeah,
and I don't know what it is, but that little orange kicker I feel makes a huge difference on the spinnerbait in the spring.
I think it's just a contrasting color thing, man. I really do.
I think so too. And I don't know, like if you guys haven't noticed, and you'll see even more, a lot of our stuff is orange and red this time of year. And that's, as we get further in, I get away from the orange and red, but orange and red in the spring, it's just killer. And I don't know if it imitates a crawfish or what it's doing, but it just seems like it gets more bites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And this is a 3/8 ounce. I like throwing a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait. So
awesome. Well, my number 3, guys, and actually, this actually does pertain to smallmouth, and this is something that I probably should have coordinated better with Josh, but is actually a tube, and that is a green pumpkin tube. This is actually made by Bass Pro Shops. This is a 3.5 inch super salt tender tube. This one's actually called Scum is the color, and it's a very versatile bait. To be honest with you, I fish this all year round, honestly, especially for smallmouth. When I go up to Lake Erie, when I go to St. Clair, I'll be throwing this. I promise you. It'll definitely be on at least one of my rods. It's versatile. I don't know what it is about a tube that bass like, but they just like them. Some people say it mimics a crawl. You can fish them different ways. I just think it's something about those tentacles when it falls that just make it a very attractive thing to a fish. And these things, I've tried other brands of tubes, and I've caught bass on other brands of tubes, but I just really like these 3.5 inch by Bass Pro Shops. I mean, when we go to Lake Erie, we buy probably 30 packs of this green pumpkin, and we buy a ton of jig heads, and we just tie a bunch of them on, and we snap them off. We pretty much go up there and know we're going to lose some, and it's a very versatile bait, and that is something for smallmouth that I would throw anywhere in the country for smallmouth is a tube. So that is my number 3.
Yep. And what I think gets a lot of bites on a tube is they don't fall straight. They're erratic when they fall through the water. They kind of have a very spiral effect. Mm-hmm. And I think that really does get bites. And like you said, smallmouth, but I actually turned Matt onto a little jig head that goes inside the tube, and you can Texas rig it. And I'm telling you, this time of year, that thing would be killer flipping for largemouth too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if it was you that told me about this, or I saw it somewhere on a video, and it might have been one of my subscribers. I don't know. Correct me if it was you. But when the bait falls, and like Josh said, it falls around like this when it comes down. But there's a way where you can actually change the circumference of that fall. And I don't remember if it's the hook size in it, or if it's the weight size, or something different you do to it that will make it go from a tighter spin or a quicker dart fall or to a big sweeping fall. And I cannot remember for the life of me what that was, but it was very interesting when I watched it. So
that's really cool.
Yep. So that's a quick note there on the tube, and not just smallmouth, guys. I mean, I catch a ton typically when we go to Lake Erie, we go out on the main lake and we fish for smallmouth. The weather starts to get bad or we're coming in, we always stop at the harbor. I don't change lures. I fish that damn tube all the way in East Harbor, all the way down in shorelines, and it tears bass up. It just does. So it'll catch bass anywhere. And it's a bait that everybody knows about. Everybody knows about a tube, but for some reason, not many people talk about it. It's just, I don't know if it's just an old school thing or what, but it's a very productive lure always.
It's definitely old school in smallmouth fishing, because I think the Ned rig has really overshadowed it in the drop shot too. So, but again, that might make it more relevant, honestly. You know, I mean, honestly, we just talked about spinnerbaits. Spinnerbaits kind of took a back seat when chatterbaits came out. And now spinnerbaits are starting to get popular again, because guess what? The bass aren't seeing as many of them, you know?
Yep.
And I think that's the way with the tube too. I mean, I throw a tube a lot for smallmouth, and but I do throw the Ned rig and the drop shot probably more, honestly. And not because they work better. It's just, I don't know. I kind of forgot about the tube, honestly.
It comes full circle. You know, bass see the same lure, especially on the lakes by where Josh and I live that are highly pressured. They see the same shit. They see a bajillion chatterbaits. They see a bajillion freaking, you know, of the same lures. So then those baits that used to be good, people quit using them, and then they're working again because they haven't seen one in a while. So, you want to give us your number 2?
Yep. And it's the tried old true jig. There's 2 of them right there. These being, this is a 1/2 ounce jig. It's a jig I make myself, or I buy the stuff and basically put it together myself. And then what I like to throw this time of year, this is a Zoom super chunk junior trailer. And I like this trailer this time of year because it doesn't have as much action. And I either rig it like this with the meaty side in the hook, or I rig it where I thread it up on. And that's pretty much the gist, man. I mean, a jig will catch fish all year long, but I feel for me, a jig really shines in the pre-spawn. And I will let this baby soak. I will cast it in any type of cover and I will just let it soak. And you'd be surprised if you let it sit there 15, 20 seconds, you go to lift up on it and it's heavy. So
I agree. And it's a versatile bait for sure. And getting into my number 2, guess what I throw? A jig. That was my number 2. And like I said just now, guys, this is something I throw all year round as well. This is a black and blue. And actually, when I went fishing last week, I had something more similar to what Josh had on. I had an all black. I like to throw the Bitsy flips by Strike King, and they're just a smaller profile, but that all just depends. You know, if I got darker water, I'm going to throw a bigger jig. It's going to move more water, have a bigger trailer on it. I might even add a rattle to it, things like that, in that darker stained water. But typically, I just prefer a more low profile bait. This jig trailer right here is actually one I just bought this year. And I'm trying to look it up right now because I cannot remember. I got it from Tackle Warehouse. And it's got, you know, it's got some action to it. This is a black and blue. There's the black and red ones I got, black and purple ones. It's something I'm looking to try. But typically, like Josh, I throw a lot of the Zoom chunks, a lot of the chunk juniors on these smaller. This I think is 1/8 ounce right here. So this is made by Strike King. It's called a Bitsy Flip, and that is my number 2. And when it comes to colors, guys, darker stained water, I'm going to throw the black and blue. Once it gets a little bit more clear, not saying clear, I'll go to the green pumpkin. Something with like a green pumpkin, maybe with like a hint of orange in it, or a green pumpkin with even a green pumpkin trailer, or a green pumpkin with a black trailer, or even a white trailer. So once that water clears up a little bit, I'll definitely switch to the green pumpkin trailer type. So that is my number 4. And I got a feeling, Josh, our number 1s are going to be the exact same. But let's hear what you got, buddy. And actually, you want to show it, and then if it's the same thing, I'll show it.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing, but I have 2 of them actually, and I already know what Matt's is, and it's a crankbait. And it's going to be the KVD 1.5.
This is me on KVD 1.5. Yeah.
And then I'm going to throw another one in there. And I just started fishing this one this year. And this is it's made by Rapala. It's a, what's it called? It's a tiny, it's an OG tiny, and it's a flat sided one, and it's balsa. And I've really started to like this bait. And what I'll basically, this I'm going to throw in the water a little.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this when the water is a little colder, say that lower 50s. And then once it gets to about 55, I'm going to tie 1.5 on, and it's not going to leave my rod all year, to be honest with you. Colors will change.
Yeah.
And like I said, and as you can see, as I'm dropping stuff, our colors are pretty much the same, you know. This is a red one, and I'm going to show you guys something. This one here I've had forever, and I have caught, I swear to you, I probably have caught 100 bass on this crankbait.
Yeah, I've got the same one.
Yeah. The lip, it's not even square anymore. It's round because it's rubbed so much, but I will still throw this. This is probably my favorite crankbait ever. I'm going to be sad one day if I lose it. But I had a day up in Erie in April a couple years ago where I probably caught 40 fish on that. And I'm talking good ones. It was before I taped, but that was awesome. And then, like I said, the bait, it's a flat-sided crawfish color. I got a red one too. And then this color, we've seen it twice now. I have come to really like this color. I think they call it green tomato. And it's just a chartreuse with a red top. And I really like that color too. But I have all kinds of different reds. And
yeah, that's how mine is too. It's pretty much the same pattern as this lipless crankbait. It's got the orange. It's got the black tops on them. So yeah, it's pretty much similar. Now I will switch between this and the gizzard shad color. I think, and that is even in early spring. You know, I just feel like it's something to feed on all year. I caught a lot of bass last year, actually, here at Oakthorpe, on the gizzard shad color. And that's the fish when I missed that big smallmouth down at Cumberland, it was on that gizzard shad color. You know, now that was later in the year, but I'll throw this a lot. I'll throw that gizzard shad. I just like the KBD 1.5. They're cheaper. They're not a real expensive crankbait. Josh changes the hooks out on his. I don't even change the hooks out on mine. At least I haven't as of yet.
Yeah.
It's just, I got a ton of them. It's a versatile bait. It's got a good erratic action, and I feel like it can go no wrong. I've actually given a ton of these lures out here on the Bread for Bass channel. Actually, I gave a whole damn box of these things to one of our subscribers on one of our giveaways because I believe in them that much, and they're hard to go wrong with one of these. So.
No, they're awesome. And like you said, you'll hear us talk about this bait all the time. It's the only square bill crankbait I throw. And I'm sure there's other ones out there that are pretty awesome. I don't even try them because I've been throwing a KBD 1.5 basically since the day it came out. Kevin Van Dam actually won a spring classic on this bait. And like you said, they offer a ton of colors. It's a cheap bait. I mean, it's like $5-6. You break a couple off on a fishing trip, you run to a local Walmart and they have them, you know,
them everywhere.
I've even seen them in gas stations, you know what I mean?
Too.
So like you can find them everywhere. And you're going to hear about this bait a lot because going forward from this, me and Matt's going to do this for about every season. We're going to probably do a spawn one where our favorite spawn baits, our favorite summer baits, our favorite fall baits. And to be honest with you, you're going to see a lot of these baits I just mentioned in those lists too. And the KBD 1.5 is always going to be on that list. And like I said, the colors just change for me, you know.
And they have different depth ones. That's probably the 3 to 5 foot right there.
Yeah, this is just the standard 1.5. Yep.
Yeah. So this one right here, I believe, is also 1.5, but this one's actually got the bigger lip. And I think the 1.5 comes in. Yeah. Is the 1.5 the length of the body? Is that what it is? Is it 1.5 inch long body?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they come in different depth variations of how deep they die. But yeah, typically I'm throwing the 3 to 5 foot. This is just what I grabbed real quick, and I got the same color variation in the original one like Josh has right there. So. And another crankbait I like to throw, guys, is I really like the Rapala DTs. I know it's not a square bill, but you know, the DT6s are a killer. They really are.
They are.
Yeah, they're expensive. They're expensive. They're expensive.
They're $10. They're about $10 now, and they're balls and they break your release. That's my only downfall. I used to throw a DT6 quite often in that the ice color, the devil, or what do they call it? It's a red one that I
know.
That's a killer color. And I still have some DT6s. I actually threw one today a little bit. they're really good too, and they're balsa bait. So they got the 1.5s. I was real hesitant for years to throw them in cold water because I always considered them more of a warmer crankbait because they kind of got that more of a hunting action, that wide action. And then, like I said, I was up in Erie 3 or 4 years ago, and it was April, and I think the water temperature was like mid 50s, kind of stained water, and I tied that red one on, and I just started hammering them. So again, it goes back to what we've talked about before. It gave me a ton of confidence in that bait. But I'll be honest with you, even last year, I caught most of my bass I caught in the pre-spawn. I caught on that 1.5. So,
do you have any more of those crankbaits? Do you already have like some backup ones, or you throw the same one with the teeth with all the paint chipped off of it, or do you have more?
No, I got a whole box of those. I mean, I probably got 4 or 5 in that red color. And I got that red color that you just showed. I got a ton. With my 1.5s, I have them in 3. I basically stick to 3 colors. I stick to a shad color, I stick to a chartreuse color, and I stick to like a red or like a crawfish color. And that all depends on the time of the year and water clarity. But the red and the shad get thrown the most. I don't throw the chartreuse as much unless the water's really dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But again, I'm sure they all have. You could go out and throw a chartreuse black back right now and probably catch them just as good as a red one. But it's what we have confidence in. But I do, and I knew Matt that was going to be Matt's number 1 bait, and also mine is that crankbait, and not just the 1.5. Like I said crankbaits in general. I do like that little flat-sided balsa bait. That thing is killer. That thing honestly is going to replace. I used to throw shad wraps a lot when the water was cold. And the problem with the shad wrap, if anyone's ever thrown them, they're hard to cast, even with the spinning rod. Like you got to fling them. They don't have a ton of weight. And that tiny 4 made by Rapala, that thing throws really well on a spinning rod. And it dies about 4 feet, and it's got a super tight action. So I feel like the 1.5 paired with the tiny 4 is a good combination, and I throw them hand in hand. Today I threw them both a lot. Didn't get any bites on them, but I feel like if one's not working, the other one's probably gonna work.
Yeah.
And like I said, the DT6s are really, really good too. And now they actually have a DT8 out, which is the same body size as the DT6, just a bigger bill. Which is killer bait. Because I had some DT10s for a while, but I didn't really like them. I felt like they were almost too big, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
For only diving 10 feet.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I agree.
Yeah, this time of year, if I could pick one bait to take to the lake, it would probably be. If you said you can only have one rod, one bait, I would definitely take a crankbait to the lake.
Yep, I agree.
For the pre-spawn.
Yep, I agree. All right,
and
guys. Well, go ahead.
And you can cover a ton of water. I'm sorry, Matt.
No, you're good.
You can cover a ton of water. Flipping a jig is hard when you're not getting a ton of bites. But you can cover a ton of water with the crankbait. You can go right down that shoreline, cover water. Because this time of year, me and Matt was talking about this before we came on. A lot of times this time of year, you're not catching a ton of numbers, but you're usually catching. If you do catch fish, they're usually pretty decent ones. Like this is a time of year where you're going to break your PB. So I feel like if you can cover water, a lot of times you can find that maybe that 2 or 3 fish that really want to play, and they're usually pretty big. So.
Yep. I absolutely agree.
The crankbait's awesome for that. You can cover a ton of water, put the trolling motor on high and go, baby. Just remember to slow yourself down this time of year. But
yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, it's a very versatile lure, that's for sure. So that's all we got for today, guys. Our next video next week, we're going to talk about, what we say, Josh? We're going to talk about the effects that YouTube fishermen have had on bass fishing, right? That's what we're going to talk about.
Well, let me look real quick. I thought, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to
talk about it.
We're going to do the effects YouTube fishermen have had on bass fishing, and then I think after that we're going to talk about our top 5 YouTube fishermen or YouTube channels that we like to watch, fishing channels. So
absolutely. And another thing, guys, leave a comment below and tell us your top 5 pre-spawn baits. We love when people comment. Me and Matt. We don't get overloaded with comments, so we're able to respond to everybody's comments. So if you have any questions, any suggestions, anything you guys want to hear in the future, and also post your top 5 pre-spawn baits.
Give us your list. I want to hear it for sure. Yeah, and let us know video ideas, guys. We were actually talking about this last night. I was like, man, I had a ton of ideas when we started doing this podcast, and I was hoping we were going to get more feedback with some ideas, but I was like struggling to think of something. So, but it's just because we're in that kind of weird time of year where the fishing is about to start, but it hasn't really started heavy yet, but it's coming. So we appreciate you guys. I don't have any final words. Josh, you got anything?
No, I enjoy doing this. I love tackle talk, so I enjoy talking about that stuff. So
yeah, me as well, man. I do. I really do love doing this. So guys, everybody stay safe out there. Make sure you head over to Josh's channel, High Bass Guru. Subscribe to his channel. Subscribe to Brett for Bass if you would. Really appreciate it. We both appreciate it, guys. We got a lot more of these coming. A lot more content coming from us individually on our channels, and this is just beginning, guys. So everybody stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.